Hi, Chevra. Good Nerv Shabbos. I want to share with you something that I think is so powerful, not just in its context, but for us right now. The Jewish people, the Egyptians, they're living amongst plagues. We know what it's like to live amongst plagues. We know what it's like to be impacted. We know what it's like to feel a sense that I'm so worried just about myself and my existence and what's going to happen tomorrow. And we know what it does to us. And I think this speaks to that. We reach the penultimate plague of Choshech. And it says, Vayihi Choshech Afela, that there's this great darkness, intense darkness upon the world. And literally was so intense that Lo Ra'u Ish et Achiv v'lo kama ish mitachtav. A person couldn't see the other. You couldn't stand up. It was so paralyzing. Imagine the solitude that engendered. Imagine what it meant to not be able to see. Imagine life. As much as I can't stand Zoom on some level, imagine living through this pandemic without Zoom, without FaceTime, without pictures, without being able to see things on WhatsApp. Imagine that. And we only see this is what we see, or we only have the phone. That's this times 1,000. But there's something deeper that the Chidushei Harim says that I think resonates for all time, especially now. The greatest darkness. What the Pasuk is telling us on a deeper level is that the greatest darkness that one can experience is when a person can't see the other, not just physically, but metaphorically, emotionally, psychologically. The eno mishtatef bitsar hazulat, when you're so concerned, consumed, and subsumed with your own feelings of self-preservation, of whatever, and you can't empathize with the pain or even sympathize of the other. You can't partner yourself Bitsar hazulab, with the distress of the other person. Lo ra'u ishet achiv. That's what the Torah is telling us. The Egyptians were so broken down by these plagues, they literally couldn't see each other. They couldn't focus on anyone but themselves, maybe their families, maybe. And you see that in Makat Bechorot, unfortunately, when they deal with what they deal with in the plague that hit all of their families. But they couldn't see beyond their Daled Amos. They couldn't see beyond their own homes, their own plight. They couldn't be mishtatef in the tsar of another. V'totza'ato shel davar. And the Chidushei Harim says, and you know what the outcome, the logical outcome of that is? Kishein margisha mitzar shel chaver, when you can't feel the pain of your friend or even experience it or understand it or even care about it, when you're not sensitive to it. Hergesh na'aseh kehal mishutak, whereby literally your sensitivity becomes dulled and silent. V'lo kamu ish mitachtav, ein lo tekuma. There is no salvation for a civilization like that, for a society like that, for a culture like that, for a person like that. You can't be blind to the pain, to the distress, to the anxiety, to the fears, to the issues that exist in the house next to you, of your friends. Lo kamu ish tachtav. They were done. And the Chidushei Harim doesn't continue, but I will. And the Chidushei, and I'll say based on that, well, what's the rest of the pasuk? They couldn't see each other, and therefore they couldn't, there's no standing anymore for this society. It's like, on its down, it's ready to have its total downfall, which it does. But for the Jewish people, there was light wherever they settled in their neighborhoods. Why? Because they were the exact opposite. They went through pain. They went through, maybe they weren't plagues that rained down from heaven, but they were plagues like persecution and suffering and slavery and all of the things that they dealt with yet. They saw each other. They looked into their friends' homes. They looked into their lives and they cared. It mattered to them. And therefore there was light. And I think that's what really led to the Geula, and I'll prove it to you. Because during the plague of darkness, Hashem says to Moshe, I want you to tell the Jewish people to go into the Egyptians' homes and ask them for their belongings, for things, whatever, and they'll lend it to you and you're going to take it. They'll be your spoils as you leave Egypt. It's a whole midrashic thing. Hashem had promised Abraham that, yes, you'll be slaves, but one day you'll leave Berchush Gadol with great wealth. And good, this is going to happen, and it was supposed to happen during the plague of darkness. But what's interesting is, and really fascinating, is that the pasuk says something really weird. The pasuk says, Daber na be'aznei ha'am v'yishalu ish me'et re'ehu v'yisha me'et re'uta klei chesed v'klei zahav. Speak to the ears of the people and let them ask one from the other, men to men, women to women, whatever, silver and gold, etc. And what's weird is it says be'aznei ha'am. Who is that referring to? When Hashem speaks to Moshe, and he says, speak into the ears of the people, he's talking to the Jewish people. And says the Toldos Adam and the Vilna Gaon as well, quoted by a Rav Daron Perez in Israel, from Mizrahi in Israel, it's exactly what's happening. Hashem is telling the Jewish people, if you want the Egyptian people, the Egyptian to shower you with blessings, you want God to shower you with blessings, you want them to see you in a kind and favorable way, well, guess what? Be good to each other. Yishalu ish me'et re'ehu. Reach out to your neighbors, to your friends. How are you? How's it going? How can I help you? How can I be there for you? See them. Don't close your eyes to their suffering just because you're in distress and you're suffering and you're dealing with everyone else is dealing with as well. And then, in fact, that's what happens. And then it says immediately thereafter, if you deal with each other like that, ish me'et re'ehu, v'isha me'et re'uta, you guys are good to each other, you see each other favorably, v'yitein Hashem etchein ha'am b'nei Mitzrayim. V'yitein Hashem etchein ha'am b'nei Mitzrayim. God made it that the enemies, that the Egyptians, their tormentors, will all of a sudden look upon the Jewish slaves favorably. Why? Because if you open your heart to other people, God will open his heart to you and have others open their hearts to you as well. That's what brings the Geula. Chevra, we're nearing the 1 year mark of this disaster, this plague, vaccines are happening. I see incredible things happening with people randomly sending a text here and there. Hey, there's an opening here, because the vaccine rollout is so insane and ridiculous. And imagine, right, people that are computer savvy can't handle it, can't manage it. And yet, imagine if you are in an age group where you're barely computers, how hard is it then? And I see incredible things going on of, hey, there's some spots open here, check this out. And I hear about people setting people up, people in their, younger people setting up, people in their 70s and their 80s with vaccines, with appointments, because they never could have done it before. Why? Well, I want to worry about myself. I want to worry about my own parents. No. I'm going to worry about everyone else. I have my eyes open. And may our eyes continue to be open to everyone else. Let's not succumb to the solitude of this plague, to loneliness, to callousness, to closing our eyes. Let's have our eyes open to other people's plights, to be there for them, to help people. We have so much opportunity to help people, especially now. Go out and do it. And there will be light in our neighborhood, in our community, everywhere we go, just as the light is coming in right here, mamish, on my face as we're talking about this. May it be so in our neighborhood. V'yitein Hashem etchein ha'am etchein kol ha'olam aleinu. May God shine favorable eyes and light upon all of us, our communities, our families, for the good, for refuah and geula, bimheira b'yameinu, amen. Have a great Shabbos.